Hello everyone, my name is Brittany. Welcome to my YouTube if this is your very first time here. I'm super excited to have you with me today. I'm really excited to make this video today because something has happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks and my message inbox on Instagram, Facebook, and my email is just like blowing up with all kinds of goodness. And I really just want to first and foremost say thank you so much to everyone who watches these videos consistently. Every single person that has subscribed. I have something very special coming up and it is a giveaway, my very first giveaway. I love this company and they have agreed to do a little giveaway for me. So stay tuned until the end of the video if you want more information on that. Yeah, I just wanted to celebrate getting to 300 subscribers and here's to the future. Here's to more and more uploads and videos and sharing content and connecting. So thank you so much. The super precious, vulnerable emails and direct messages that I've been getting have literally been leaving me in tears like every single day. And so many of you are asking for my direct resources. Books that I've come upon, teachers that I've stumbled across, messages that have been shared with me. So today what I wanted to do is make like a my resources manual. I'm going to be talking a lot about different spiritual teachers and books, authors that I have come across. I'm going to also list them in the description box down below. So if you are interested in how it is that I came to be in the place that I'm at today and the resources that I used to get here, please keep watching. So first and foremost, this has to be said, and I don't want to get any hate about it, but we'll see. I think that the way that we get a lot of our lessons and messages can come in like the craziest ways. And I remember one day soon after I graduated my yoga teacher training 2 years ago in August 2nd, 2015. It was shortly after that I was scrolling on Instagram, I think, and Kourtney Kardashian, who I have been told is my doppelganger, and I totally love being told that I look like her because she's so cute and I love her. She posted Brene Brown's The Power of Vulnerability TED Talk. This was the very first moment that really opened my eyes to these kinds of teachings, and it really began this entire story for me. So who would have known that Kourtney Kardashian was a total messenger for my change? So The Power of Vulnerability by Brene Brown really just breaks down in this 20-minute TED Talk the reasons and the ways that vulnerability is seen a lot in our society, in our culture. A lot of people, when they're asked about what they think about the word vulnerability, will say weakness or associate it with not being able to take it, not being able to handle a lot of things. But in my experience, I really believe that vulnerability is, as Brene Brown says, our one true source for authentic connection. And it's only really through being able to show the most raw and authentic sides of ourselves that are sometimes incredibly uncomfortable and painful that we're really able to showcase what it is that's going on inside of ourselves so that we can create a bridge to other people that want to connect with us by saying, oh my gosh, I see that raw discomfort. I've totally been there, and it allows us greater access to empathize with each other and let people know that we're not alone. Let people know that we see them and we see the pain that they are going through and that we've been there too, and that we can extend a hand and reach out to them in this path of healing. And I seriously cannot agree with that anymore, especially since one day I'm really going to dive into my experience at my yoga teacher training and really get into it. I've mentioned it a few times, and if you haven't seen my yoga teacher training like paradigm shift video, I'll leave it in the description box down below. What really rose to the surface at the very end of that experience is that I am someone who is so vulnerable, and I really love expressing vulnerability. It's something that is very uncomfortable for a lot of people, but I do believe that it's a part of my life's work to be able to really dive into these dark areas of myself and be able to really discover what's going on in those dark corners so that I can heal from it, and then be able to communicate it with people here on the internet who are also interested in the same type of healing, or are just interested in seeing someone else's journey for healing. Her Gifts of Imperfection book is so amazing. Daring Greatly, Rising Strong, so good, those books. So Brene Brown's The Power of Vulnerability inevitably led me to a lot of different teachers, and I think the next really profound video that I watched was one by Michael Singer, who is the author of a lot of very well-known and well-respected books, The Surrender Experiment being one of them, and his talk on mindfulness and ways to be able to adapt mindfulness into your life is so incredible. I want to say it's about an hour and 45 minutes, but it really just goes through about how we can have positive and negative experiences happen to us all day long, but usually it's only the negative ones that we store inside of us. And over time, those negative experiences really start having a big play on how our personality develops and the way that we start to make decisions in our lives, and the ways that we suppress ourselves from a lot of different things, from being able to express our emotions and express our experiences to other people, because it is so societally acceptable to store a lot of negative emotions and to allow it to harden and calcify your being, and then you're kind of this like big old grumpy curmudgeon who has, it's very obvious, has a lot of things that they're holding on to from their past. But what Michael Singer really addresses is the ways that we can gain awareness by the practice of mindfulness to what it is that we're storing and the way that we're storing things, whether it's positive or negative, whether it's helpful or disruptive to our growth, and the ways that we're able to start like letting those things go and releasing them, and the way that we literally can feel like lighter and more free whenever we are releasing these negative experiences that we sometimes carry with us from childhood. And he also goes into a lot of ways that this negativity manifests itself into different diseases and really hurtful things as we get older. This last Christmas, I stumbled upon this series of books that I'll link down below that I got for my mom. It's called You Can Heal Your Body, I want to say. There's a book that's a really great bestseller, and then there's a workbook, and then there is a smaller book that goes through a lot of different ailments that you can have, anything from obesity to bad breath to heart problems. And basically it says where the energetic blockage is that is kind of helping to promote that dis-ease within your body and helping that negative sickness manifest, and then how you can go about starting to heal those. It gives a lot of positive affirmations and exercises that you can do to start dispelling those blockages. I want to say maybe 4, 5, or 6 months ago, I stumbled upon Abraham Hicks. Basically, this woman, Judith Hicks, tells her story on Oprah's podcast on where this whole conduit sort of channeling started for her. I'll link the podcast episode down below. The story is really interesting. Basically, Judith Hicks, her and her husband were introduced to meditation, and something really profound started happening to where her nose was starting to make different like letter patterns. And when she discovered that, she said, oh gosh, what is the message that's coming out of me? And she started transcribing it from these movements that she was having. And it was this spiritual connection of teachers, ascended masters, and higher beings that were giving messages that she then allowed to come through her. They called themselves Abraham Hicks. And these messages on basically how to maintain being on your high-flying disc, which is being the most true and highest self. She really breaks a lot of that down in these teachings, what it means and what it feels like to be on your highest self, to be on your high-flying disc, and what happens whenever you fall off the disc and how to get back on the disc. And it's really cool. It's kind of hard to go into really in depth here, but for those of you that this is kind of resonating with and you want to learn more, I guarantee you it's like incredibly interesting, but I understand that these are a lot of really, really big concepts for a lot of people, and maybe you've never heard of anything like this before. So just try to keep an open mind, and if it's not something that resonates with you, that's totally fine. I also think it's really noteworthy to say that a lot of times we can think that something is really outlandish and totally like ridiculous and not based in reality, which on a lot of levels is true. A lot of these concepts that have to do with metaphysics are insightful. They're not usually things that you can just look at and be like, oh yeah, okay, cool, I'm gonna adapt that into my realm of being. It's like if some things don't make sense to you at this time in your life, that's totally fine and that's totally expected. I think a big reason that I've been able to adapt a lot of these into my realm of being for the past just 2 years, and I'm literally a different person now, is because this is my life's purpose. And for whatever reason, I understand a lot of it really, really well. And for me, I think a lot of it is just this inner knowing that all of us have within us on some level. And it's like when we hear these things from these teachers, it's not so hard for us to necessarily believe, because there's a part of us inside that is this expansive wealth of knowledge. And when we hear a lot of these teachings, we remind ourselves, oh yeah, I remember that. It's not even necessarily whether we want to believe or not, but these are truths. These are undeniable truths that a lot of us know and feel inside. And all we need to do is hear someone else in the context that they say it, and we say, oh yeah, that's true. I remember that it's not good to judge. I remember that it's only through my own way that I choose to live my life that's going to determine the sort of life that I live. Basically, it's that we know that we can only blame outside circumstance so much, and we can't control the things that happen outside of ourselves. All that we can ever control is the way that we control this thing, this thing in our thoughts and the words that come out of our mouths. And to sit around and blame things on a lot of other people, any of that is just never going to do us any good. And I know that that's really, really a hard thing to process or understand, because a lot of times we are treated very, very poorly, and a lot of really, really bad, heinous, terrifying, terrible things happen to people. And I'm not trying to downplay any of that at all. So, Abraham Hicks. I really, really love Deepak Chopra. A lot of these teachers I'll see when I can find them in town and go to their talks. It makes for a really, really great date night and helps initiate conversation for my partner and I to be able to talk about, like, wow, I'd never thought about it like that before, and how did you feel about this? And oh, when you said that, it made me think of this memory in my life and this internal process that I went through a long time ago. These teachers that really open up different facets of ourselves to where we're able to remember and then communicate those lessons that we learned to our partners or companions in hopes for them to better understand who we are and the way that we think. For me, a lot of this is different yoga teachers as well. Kia Miller is a really fantastic Kundalini teacher who I practice with on yogaglow.com, and Annie Carpenter also. And that's another thing. A lot of people have been messaging me like, hey, I just started practicing yoga, blah, blah, blah. How can I adapt a lot of these practices more quickly into my life? And really the only thing I can say about that is time allows for a lot of these messages to really soak in. It's really hard to say that you just hear something one time and then it's like ingrained. For me, it's all just about patience. It's all just about really opening yourself up and allowing what speaks to you to speak to you. And then other days, you know, you're in a yoga practice and you're caught with your head being elsewhere. And it's really hard for you to get present and get quiet and really allow yourself to surrender to the class, because a lot of times stress of life just kind of takes you away from that. And that's another aspect of the practice of yoga, is just being very patient with yourself. And yes, discipline is something, and mindfulness on when your thoughts start to go awry is something, but also if you're going through a stressful time in your life, just allow yourself some patience and be kind to yourself, and know that this is a lifelong practice and you're going to continue adding little tidbits of knowledge every single class that you approach, and they're slowly going to weave themselves into who you are and the way that you function, if that is what you choose to allow. So people like Sally Kempton, Kia Miller, Annie Carpenter, those are just people that I attend class with online. If you're able to look up classes, yoga studios in your own city, definitely go and check those out. Eckhart Tolle, A New Earth was the first book of his that I read. The Yoga Sutras, which is an ancient text that we and a lot of yoga teacher trainings utilize. Basically, it's a short book of parables. And it's interesting because I can sit here and give you guys a lot of different resources, but all of these have just spoken to me in the way that they've spoken to me because of the life that I've lived. And these people are obviously inspirational to many, many, many people. That's why their teachings are so widespread. But I mean, really just allowing yourself to get curious. And a lot of times talks will lead me from talk to talk to talk to talk, and 10 videos later I'm at someone that I've totally never heard of before that I just discovered. And you know, sometimes we like to just control things too much. Get a one-track mind and be like, I'm gonna learn everything that she learned and I'm gonna advance my life to the next level because of everything that this person says. That's like a weird expectation, and you really just have to allow yourself to like move intuitively. That's a really great way to grow your own intuition and your intuitive strengths. Just letting yourself flow and move, and when you pick up something that maybe someone else says that sounds really inspirational, you ask them like, oh wow, did you get that from a book, or do you have any books that you could recommend to me? Or just really allowing yourself to be open at all moments of the day, whether you're at the grocery store or at your nail salon or anywhere. Really just being open, and whenever you hear something that's inspirational, reaching out and telling someone that they've just inspired you. I think that the practice of mindfulness and just observing life as a witnesser is the most incredible practice that I've come across. That's probably been the biggest game changer over the past few years. It just gives everything a really new breath of life. And instead of being so emotionally involved in your day-to-day life, every minute of every day, just like waiting to react to something, you're really able to take like a step back and just really witness everything that's going on around you. I remember when I started seeing a therapist about 3.5 years ago because I had really, really severe anxiety, and I was positive that someone was going to break into my house. I started telling my therapist, I was like, I feel like I'm crazy because I can be standing talking to someone, but then I also, it's like I'm above the situation looking down on it, and I'm just constantly observing everything, like the physical mannerisms of the person and the ways that they're looking. I'm just really analyzing every little situation that's going on, body language, and intaking it, like, what do you have to say about that? And she was always like, ooh, I don't have anything to say about that, which is so interesting because it was really brought to my attention that what I was doing was living as a witness and an observer in my own life. I learned that at my yoga teacher training where we were reading the Yoga Sutras. There's this parable, 116, I think. When the ultimate level of non-reaction has been reached, pure awareness can clearly see itself as independent from the fundamental qualities of nature. When we read that parable in class, Annie was like, what do you guys have to say about that? Basically, after every few parables, we would stop and just share ideas on what we were thinking about. And this chick, Whitney, raised her hand and she's like, oh, I just think it's really speaking to living as a witness to our own life. And when she said that, I was like, oh, living as a witness to my own life. I've been doing that for years and I thought I was crazy, and this ancient book mentions it, and there's a whole practice behind this. And that day after class, I went to Annie and I was like, I've been seeing a therapist for years and blah, 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 blah. I described this whole thing to her and she goes, oh, wow, that's great. That's really great. A lot of people try to obtain this way of thinking for years. Good for you. Like, dope. And I left just feeling like I was so high because not only was I not crazy, but there was an entire practice of people that tried to live like this. And for the longest time, I didn't know why I thought this way or why I like witnessed things the way that I did. I just thought it meant that I was super controlling and analyzing every little aspect of my life. But then I started to look at it in a really different way, and it was really, really a helpful tool for me from that point on. And I think that that's a really cool story on how I came to adaptive mindfulness practice. Oh my gosh, any talk that Oprah gives too. I love Oprah. I love her. Her teachings and the way in which she's lived her life and her story, if you've never heard, to include it in the description box down below. Listening to these people speak about their synchronicity stories, it really gives a fresh perspective on the fact that all of us are the same. All of us are just people. All of us have the same abilities, and all of us are able to transcend our past and overcome things that have been really, really hard in our lives. Everybody is the same. There's no hierarchy of where a person is born and this person is meant to be poor and this person is meant to be Julia Roberts, like the biggest, movie star ever. It's like, no, these people make things happen for themselves, and a lot of times it's just whenever they're moving from their highest truth that opportunities present themselves to them because they're moving in a way where they're living in a flow state. And when you're living in a flow state, universe provides. With the right situation, the right circumstance, universe provides. All of us have this ability within ourselves. It's so cool because I always had a really, really big problem with putting people on a pedestal and just being like, oh, I am not worthy to talk to you. I'm not worthy to even be in the same room as you. How many of us do that to ourselves? And it's so silly. What is that deal with self-worth? What is that deal with thinking that we are not worthy of everything and anything that anybody else has? The knowledge that we are able to obtain from other people is our knowledge, and then we're able to pass it on to other people too. There doesn't have to be this competitive stigma. We create that ourselves. We're so silly. Why do we make life so hard for ourselves sometimes? Gabrielle Bernstein too. I can't believe I was about to end the video without talking about her. She's one of the newer people that I've discovered, and I think just seeing someone that's a lot younger give these really, really amazing messages at like yoga festivals. And I remember hearing her tell her come to Jesus story about when she was a drug addict and living in New York, and one day she just kind of woke up and she's like heard inside of her head, like, if you get sober, all of the most incredible wealth and riches will rain down in everlasting abundance upon you, or something ridiculous like that. And I just love hearing stories like those because I'm like, oh, why them and why not me? Like, I can do this too. And I really believe that that is what is starting to take place here on YouTube, on Instagram, just like really being able to connect with people about stuff like this. And the way that I envision my work is that I want to be that bridge that's between like unconsciousness and the consciousness, and really just communicating what this bridge is all about and like the way that we can navigate those first beginning steps, because this is still so new to me too, and for whatever reason I've just had a really, really rapid expansion, and now I want to share about it, and I'm really, really loving all this connection that I've been having lately. So thank you guys so much once more for being here with me and for wanting to connect with me in the ways that you're connecting with me. I just want to express so much gratitude to you. You are a part of my story, and thank you so much for letting me be part of yours. I love you so much. And if you have more questions for me, please definitely let me know. I hope that you find my resource guide helpful. I'm going to add in some other ones that maybe I didn't mention here that I just find super inspirational. Okay, so the giveaway, I totally almost forgot. The giveaway is going to be with AMARI Active, and I'm going to be randomly selecting a winner to get 1 or 2 pieces from AMARI Active. I have some other little goodies that are going to be a surprise for you. Hint, hint, there's some crystals and a personalized letter from me. So I'm going to be sending this out, choosing a winner at random, and the way that you're going to enter this giveaway is by following my Brooklyn Yoga Facebook page, following my Brooklyn Yoga Instagram page, and commenting down below on one thing that you're super grateful for in your life right now, and one area of your life that you're looking for or seeking change in. Thank you guys so much. I can't wait to see your entries, and let's give it 7 days. 7 days from now, which is the magical number, and yes, that's what's gonna happen. So thank you guys so much. I will see you soon. See you guys all in my next video. Love you. Namaste. Yay! So dope.